Hey guys, so in this video I am super excited to share with you my experiences in learning how to play vibrato on the violin and what has helped me along the way to really consciously think about how I can further develop my own technique. So if you're just starting out on the violin and wanted to learn how to play with vibrato but don't know where to begin, I have picked up a few tips along the way that I think you might find useful, or if you're just curious on how I approach this technique, then keep on watching this video and I will show you step by step what I did to achieve a continuous vibrato. So I hope you find this video helpful, and as always I love hearing from you, so leave your comments down below and share your top tips on how you learned how to play vibrato so that other people can read them. And now let's get on with the video. So what I notice most about my playing is that I feel that my technique and my control is a little bit better when it comes to bouncing the vibrato back and forth between the fingers. And this is really important to take note of, because at the beginning I was only able to do it mostly on the longer notes, so I would stop abruptly on shorter notes and it kind of disturbed the sound that I was creating. Someone actually left a comment on my video, and this was from String Play. I will put up the comment that he left for me, and this really has prompted me to really think about how I can do a continuous vibrato, meaning passing it on between the fingers. And I'm really thankful that someone has left me a comment about this, because from then on forwards I've been focusing on doing that. But let's rewind a little bit on how I actually got started with learning how to play vibrato. So before purchasing a violin online, I was watching a lot of Beth's video, and I was particularly taken by her video about vibrato in slow motion. And so, after watching her videos, I was very keen to try it on right away, and I didn't have my violin at the time. So what I did was I turned to my guitar and kind of practiced on that. So this turned out to be such a good exercise for my fingers while I waited for my violin to arrive, and I was breezing through this exercise like nobody's business. I was so happy with myself that I was able to do it with no problems at all, but that didn't last for too long. Problem actually came when my violin arrived and I tried it, and this is what it looked like. So that's my failed attempt at shaking my violin. But essentially what happened was, when I would draw the string with my bow and try vibrating on one finger, let's say D, I experienced a lot of shaking. The biggest thing that has helped me is to realize that, doing it on the guitar this way, at this angle, is very in a relaxed manner. And so the main difference is that when you have the violin in this position, I mean, let's face it, it's quite an awkward position. So if you try to vibrate this way and add a bow on your right hand, it's like a recipe for awkward and kind of tense posture. So the lesson for this is that, you know, it takes a really long time to be comfortable holding a violin on your neck, and you know, you just have to take it slowly. The first one is to have a good look at your hands. Can you make a fist? Can you open and close your fingers without any kind of effort? If you can do this, then you certainly can do vibrato, and here's why. Finger flexibility is needed whether you are doing arm or wrist vibrato. You are going to need to maintain flexibility in your fingers. So the second tip is to have a good setup with your violin, which means having a shoulder rest and also chin rest. So for me, this means that my left arm is free to move up and down the fingerboard without any tension, because if you don't have the correct adjustment as well for the shoulder rest, then it feels like the violin is constantly slipping. So you're trying to catch it, and therefore it kind of causes you to start gripping the fingerboard, and that means, you know, that transfers to the fingers as being tense and also locked. So if you're constantly gripping, you can't really move your finger. So make sure that you have a very good setup for your violin, because that's really important, and that's going to help you play and learn vibrato much more easily. Next tip I have is to just bring your elbow forward a little bit, and if you're starting to play double stops, this is going to help out a lot, because you have to create that arc so that you don't hit the other strings as you try to vibrate on two strings. So that's where I notice the big differences when it comes to playing double stops, is to move the elbow a little bit forward. Obviously that helps as well in getting to the strings, the lower strings, so you know, develop that kind of flexibility around the elbow. In terms of the mechanics of the vibrato, it's good to start here at the top in the higher position. It doesn't have to be a precise note that you're playing on, because you're not really putting any pressure. What you're doing is kind of doing the motion where your finger goes towards the bridge and then towards the scroll. So this kind of motion, and just really paying attention to the knuckles here as it bends. Simple motion like this, where the shoulder of the violin is the easiest place to start off, because in here there's a tendency to kind of grip around this area, and for some reason, for me, I found it quite difficult to kind of play on my first finger in first position. So here is a good place to start. So at first, without the pressure, and kind of whole hand is moving, whole finger in one string, kind of doing this back and forth. So notice that it's not coming from there, it's coming from the hand going back and forth. And I remember even doing this this type of exercise where I kind of just slide back and forth like this. But obviously for vibrato you have to stay in one spot, and you kind of go back and forth. So without the pressure first, and then add one finger at a time. So let's start with the third finger here, and notice how I kind of collapse my finger here towards the scroll, and then kind of bend it towards the bridge. So going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then I do this with my other fingers too, the second finger and the first finger. Just feeling how the knuckles bend is really important. And then here is the hardest one. So it doesn't matter because we're not using any bow yet. And then we add a little bit of pressure on the third finger. I think that's F sharp. So a little bit of this kind of sound, whistling sound almost. And while you're doing this, you're thinking of creating a wide amplitude. And then obviously later on you have to work on making the oscillation a little bit more steady. And so you can count 4 oscillations per one bow. So like this. And now we can start to add a pressure too. So for the third finger, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you can double the time, which means faster. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And notice how these 2 fingers here kind of releases so that there's no tension, because if you keep this down, there's no way that you can vibrate. You have to kind of relax it somehow. It can just hover on the string, and sometimes I even see myself doing this. And yeah, so do that for all of the fingers. So the other thing I wanted to mention is to make sure that your thumb is not very tense here at the back when you're doing this motion. So everything is staying relaxed, and you know, once you start tensing up your thumb, it transfers everywhere. So you just want to be consciously aware. Self-awareness is a big thing here, because you know, to be conscious of when you're gripping, when anything is tensing up, when you're not moving your finger knuckles. It means that your fingers are locked, the joints of the fingers are locked, and so you can't really do a vibrato freely. So you want to make sure that you are constantly self-aware of what is happening on your fingers in your body so that you can play vibrato. So obviously a good place to start applying vibrato is to work on music that you already know, preferably slower pieces with long notes, and just apply vibrato on that long note. And my last tip is obviously to have fun in the process of learning how to play with vibrato, because it is really rewarding once you have it down, although it takes a really long time to master. And me including, I don't think I have mastered vibrato yet. I'm still developing my own vibrato, and so you know, it's really nice to be able to play more expressively. So that's the most rewarding part of being able to learn this technique in playing. Thanks for watching this video. I hope it was useful, and if you have managed to get through the entire video this far, click the like button, and I will see you on my next one. Thanks again. Bye.